Hey, Trekkers, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video. And yes, guys, that's right, finally, at long last, I now review Season 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Yes, the second season of this Star Trek show. And, to quickly do a recap on Season 1, well, because Season 1 of Strange New Worlds seemed to have started off pretty good, off to a good start so far. I really enjoyed Season 1 and with what it had to offer, and with what I had to say in my review of Season 1, if you want to go check it out. And, just with what this new Star Trek show had to offer, and this being a spin-off of Discovery, and where we got our introductions of young Pike and young Spock. They first appeared in Discovery, and with the appearance of the Constitution-class Starship Enterprise, all the other characters that popped in their way in Discovery, and setting up and building that we were soon going to get this, and we did, and just how it turned out was amazing. Yeah. And Season 2, well, because, for a lot of people, not all of them, but you know who you are, Season 2 was another pretty good season. And, this being my Part 1 review of Season 2, so starting with the first two episodes. So the first two episodes of Season 2 of Strange New Worlds, well, they were pretty good, Off to a great start with Season 2, especially a lot of people cite Episode 2 as being the best Star Trek episode we hadn't had in quite a long time. And I think you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, what I mean by that. How the show starts off and what happened towards the end of the last episode of Season 1, where, unfortunately, Captain Pike's number 1 was unfortunately put on trial and arrested because of, the alien species that she is and what she did specifically. Una Chen Riley. That's right. Which, of course, obviously, with what happened at the very end of Season 1, and the fact it ended off right there where she gets taken into custody, well, obviously, that would be saved, obviously, for the start of Season 2, which that's what Season 2 just so did. Yep. Although, it wouldn't be in the first episode, but in the second episode. And thankfully, what happens in Episode 2? Well, things not looking too good, but at the very end, everything's patched up. But until, I talk about that some more, and when I get to Episode 2. But with the first two episodes, with their storylines and how this new season starts, the second season of Strange New Worlds was fantastic, did not disappoint. A few new characters that step in, also. Finally getting the appearance of the Klingons, and how the Klingons should rightfully look to a lot of us. Yeah. And because, my feelings on how the Klingons looked in Discovery, even when I did my research on that, I understand, but yet at the same time, there's just something about the Klingons that you can't, certain characters when it comes to Star Trek, even for the alien species, you just can't do so many changes. And that goes for their look and appearance, okay? Because we've all come to know what the Klingons look like ever since, the original Star Trek movies, the first line of Star Trek movies with Kirk and the crew, then they're on in the 24th century with Next Generation and so on. You get what I'm saying? Just with their foreheads and all that, But, it's a good thing that the look of the Klingons were brought back with this. Also on account, well, obviously, Worf, who made his comeback in Season 3 of Picard, obviously had to look like Worf, so, yeah. But more on the Klingons when I get into Episode 1, But just that. Also, a new recurring character, played by Carol Kane, did not disappoint. She's always a delightful actress. And, because with where with what goes on with the crew in the first episode, and then in episode 2 with the trial, just overall, I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes, and actually having done a rewatch of them, and as of now, I do my review, so, yeah. Because I did watch a little chunk of Season 2 long before, and as of now, I'm doing my review, okay? Just so you know. Okay, but, just overall, with that being said, a great way for Season 2 to start off with what the first 2 episodes have in store. Yeah. And now, I shall begin to dive in / break down the episodes themselves. Starting with Episode 1, The Broken Circle. Description / the story. A distress call from Lieutenant Noonien Singh, Alan, compels Spock to disobey orders to take the USS Enterprise and its crew into dispute space. Yeah, I think I said that right. Risking renewed hostilities with the Klingon in a bid to aid their shipmate. Okay, so, now that I've read the description / the story of Episode 1, The Broken Circle, let us now dive in / break down Episode 1 itself. Yeah, just again, what a heck of a way to start off the second season of Star Trek. And, because the Enterprise is being brought in for maintenance and stuff like that, being checked on and such, and especially with the aid of newcomer and new member of the Enterprise, which being Pelia, I think, I said her name, being played by Carol Kane. So inspecting the Enterprise and so on, and, Pike, once again being played by Anson Mount, still trying to figure a way out to clear his number one's, charges and stuff like that. He's actually going to be going on shore leave to go to the home planet where, she resided at. Yeah, where she comes from, her species and such. And hopefully to find a good lawyer and such to help out and clear, Riley's case. And he leaves Spock in charge of the Enterprise for 3 days until he comes back. He will be gone for 3 days. And yeah, all throughout the rest of the episode, from there on, Pike being totally absent. Yeah. Because with what he's doing and how that's a setup for what comes in the next episode. Yeah. So with Spock in charge, however, at one point, Uhura receives and notices a distress call that comes in, which, comes from Noonien Singh herself. And basically, she's basically currently located at a Klingon mining planet called Kitajar, however that word's pronounced, but I'm just going to stick with Klingon mining planet, okay? Because that's the best way to describe it. Also, not to mention that Spock, he's going through some emotions, and even when he talks it out with, Joseph, he's credited here, so... Okay, yeah, Dr. Joseph M. Banga. I hate it when IMDb sometimes does not put in the full names, you know what I mean? But yeah, talking things out with Spock because he's going through motions, and the Doctor, once again being played by Babs Alusakanukun, however his last name's pronounced, again, you know me sometimes, he gives Spock the Vulcan instrument, and I think you know what it is. Yeah, that we would see Spock play in the original series, because that does help Spock calm down and so on. However, when at one point, Nurse Christine Chappell, once again being played by Jess Bush, steps in sickbay, well, Spock's heart rate goes back up because, well, obviously, we know Spock having feelings for Chappell. Also, can't forget to mention the other cast members because, Uhura, young Uhura, I should say, once again being played by Celia Rose Gooding, and Lieutenant Erica Ortegas, I think I said her last name right, once again being played by Melissa Navia. So yeah, and as I was saying, Uhura informing Spock about the distress call that came in straight from Lieutenant Noonien Singh, and, well, again, because Spock, I should say, sorry, Spock is in command, well, yeah, because he tries to, at one point, try to talk with Admiral Robert April, whom we had seen in the first season of Strange New Worlds. And the Admiral, once again, being played by Adrian Holmes. And to mention this, and for you Trekkers that know this, obviously, Admiral Robert April, whom was once a captain, well, being the original / first captain of the USS Enterprise before Pike and long before Kirk. Yes. So, yeah, so Spock getting in contact with the Admiral and, well, because, yeah, about the distress call that was sent to them by Lieutenant Noonien Singh. And, well, the Admiral, yeah, he doesn't want this to, it's her concern, like, yeah, it's her dealing with, and yeah, because telling Spock that, they shouldn't be doing this, and so on, and especially because, well, the fact that, they had just gotten out of a Klingon / Federation war, so they don't want the risk of it happening again, and so on. So, yeah, that's out of the question, and yeah, the Admiral not letting Spock and the others proceed with this. However, at one point, Spock and the others, well, they feel as though that, yeah, they've got to do this, and on account of Lana Noonien Singh, and with what's going on with her, and because with what she was doing, and what we saw in the last season, because her involvement with the Gorn, and so on, and with a little girl that she was helping, just, yeah. And, yeah, well, it occurs to Spock that they gotta steal the Enterprise to get to the location where she is, and to the Klingon mining planet. So thus, that's what they do. Yep, so, for one thing, one of the crew members of the Enterprise, yes, Jenna Mitchell, once again being played by Rong Fu, goes into main engineering and, has a code leak happen, and having most of the crew evacuate and such, but that actually doesn't do a lot for what they're planning to do in order to steal the Enterprise. And, well, that's when, like, say, Pelia steps in, and she's getting to Spock and the others with what they're doing, their attempt to steal the Enterprise. And the code leak is not enough, and with what she suggests that they should do, and, well, because, yeah, in fact, Pelia, knowing quite a lot about Spock's mother, and, yeah, because she has a link with Spock's mother, and, well, not to mention that she's basically a new alien species in the world of Star Trek. Pretty interesting. Which, the new alien species being called Lanthanides, if I even said that right, again, you know me sometimes. So yeah, I mean, with what she recommends that they should do in order to, have it look like that something's going wrong with the Enterprise, and thus, their attempt to steal the Enterprise and make the coordinates to the Klingon mining planet. And good on her, because, yeah, her helping out, and being on their side with what they're doing, just, yeah. And, because, Spock is asked by Lieutenant Erica on what he should say, his thing, because every captain having their thing, I mean, as we all know, like, Picard most notably, engage and stuff like that, or say, Pike and Kirk in the Kelvin timeline, punch it and stuff like that. And Spock, questioning and asking, am I supposed to have a thing, and so on, and, Spock, his thing is, I would like for the ship to go, now. Yeah, and from Uhura, Erica, and the others, they chuckle, they find it amusing. So, yeah, that's what they do, yep. Spock wanting this ship to go now, and thus, yep, warp speed, their destination to the Klingon mining planet, yeah. So, at the Klingon mining planet, where we, of course, see Lieutenant Noonien Singh, and where we see her, like, at one point, shading, deals and such with weapons, giving them to the Klingons and such, And Lieutenant Noonien Singh, once again being played by Christina Chong, well, where she would notice the Doctor that's lurking nearby, and when, she reunites with her fellow Enterprise crew members, and informs them that apparently ex-Starfleet and Klingon soldiers have come together, and they call themselves the Cabal. Yeah, I think I said that right, yeah. Basically, what they're doing, and by calling themselves the Cabal, they are planning to restart the Federation and Klingon War. And the fact that it recently came to an end, and just wanting it to start all over again, and And obviously Spock and the rest of the crew, they're not going to let that happen, and, with whatever they'll do to stop this, preventing happening and such. And then at one point, the Doctor and Chapel, they actually help out the little girl that Lieutenant Noonien Singh was helping out, and because of the Gorn, and also with at one point her parents having gone missing, but of course they were found, and Oriana, I think I said her name right, once again being Emma Ho, and her parents, which being a lesbian couple. We have Stell being played by Laura Wilson, and Stell is a bit wounded, and the Doctor and Chapel, they attend to her wounds, and the other mother, which being Livian, I think I said that right, being played by Si Hang Ma. So they attend to Oriana's, one of her mothers, tending to their wounds, when at one point, both the Doctor and Chapel, they are captured by the Klingons and are brought into where, we see this starship that is being used by the Cabal and using Starfleet technology to bring this starship to life, and when it's further discovered that they're going to use this starship to target a Klingon vessel that will soon be in orbit around the Klingon mining planet, and because of that, the war will start again. And obviously, Chapel, I almost keep saying Chappelle. It's not. I gotta slow down. Chapel and the Doctor, they gotta figure a way to get themselves out of this situation, being captured, and, well, in order to take down the starship, and also on account that, the Enterprise, whom is hiding, the ship is hiding around the mining planet. Well, obviously, it's gonna step in. She's going to step in and fire torpedoes on the starship that's, taken over by the Cabal. So, and to speed things up some, because Chapel and the Doctor, they inject themselves with strength-enhancing simulants, and it grants them enhanced strength and reaction time during a conflict with the Klingons. Yep, just kicking their butts and such, and yeah, managing to escape the Klingons and to get to another part of the ship, yeah. Well, yeah, because with what goes on with both the Doctor and Chapel on the starship, and just sometimes in Star Trek, and a good majority of Star Trek, anytime, any character, when, like, if it's 2 or 3, they would find themselves in a situation and their chemistry, their interactions, it's always great. And in this case, for the Doctor and Chapel, and with what's going on with both of them, the situation they're in. And meanwhile, on the Enterprise, Spock and the others, because, yeah, still, the Enterprise being in hidden territory, not being seen, but until a Klingon vessel emerges, and very soon, yeah, the starship, which, yeah, is launched, will then go straight towards the Klingon ship and fire upon it, and then thus again, the war will start again. And Spock and the others attempting to find a way to stop the starship and not be seen by the Klingons. And obviously, and, with what happens, and when it comes up to when they fire upon the starship, obviously they will then allow themselves to be seen by the Klingons, and so the Klingons can see what's going on, And, well, with what Chapel and the Doctor come up with to, get out of the starship and not to still be chased down by the Klingons, even when, what they injected themselves with, the drug, the effects of the drug, they're temporary, and yeah, it's gonna wear off very shortly. Well, because there's no spacesuits, yeah, because they're gonna have to blow themselves out into space without spacesuits. But hopefully, and it's guaranteed that, well, the Enterprise will quickly save them. The fact that they locate and notice a distress beacon, a device and such, where, yeah, it can be sent out to the Enterprise and it'll know exactly where they are when the ship is destroyed. So, yeah. So that's what they do, and it quite intense. Like, geez, like, obviously we know that they're gonna survive, right? And even though it's gonna be a few seconds for them being blown out into space, but still, it's very intense. And the emotions that's going through Spock, because they know, and when they've discovered that, Chapel and the Doctor, they're on the starship, and they're going to have to destroy that starship as soon as possible before it targets the Klingon vessel. And eventually, yeah, then the time comes where Spock gives the order to fire photon torpedoes straight at the starship. And yeah, and luckily for Chapel and the Doctor, they got out of the starship, they were blown out, and once the ship was destroyed, the beacon being sent out, and well, they got it, they beamed them back on board the Enterprise, and Spock, geez, he especially determined to, well, because we can see that the Doctor, he's okay, but Chapel, yeah, she's totally unconscious, and, well, Spock just desperately giving her CPR, and yeah, she wakes up and she's all right. And yeah, because that was something, and because again, the emotions that go through Spock and his love for Chapel, it's amazing. Yeah. So after all that, both the Doctor and Chapel are okay, and there's another moment between the Doctor and Spock, and with Spock's emotions, even when he does get a bit teary-eyed. Yeah. And then, when, Spock, he actually, because he spoke with the Klingon captain that was commanding the Klingon vessel that came in, and when Spock was explaining to the Klingons that, yeah, with what had happened and with them destroying a starship and such, yeah, and, near the end, there's a moment where Spock bonds with the Klingons, drinking and such. And this even impressed Pelia, Carol Kane. And a moment between Pelia and Spock, it was really great. And after all that, well, because Spock, yeah, obviously, Admiral Robert April found out about this, and, well, you know, with what Spock explained to the Admiral, it seems like it's all good now, and, you know, the Admiral letting Spock off the hook, and, well, this did not prevent, and with what Spock obviously explained to the Admiral, with what happened just, yeah, this prevented for there not to have another Federation/Klingon war, yeah. That was great. And because of that, well, that makes Starfleet less worried about another threat that's upon them, which has to do something with the Gorn. And with the episode ending off where, yeah, the threat coming from the Gorn that, well, a chance that there might be a new war, this time between the Federation and the Gorn. So, yeah. And right before the end credits start, we have a very sweet, nice dedication of Nichelle Nichols. Yeah, and hailing frequencies will always be open. Oh, that was excellent. Yeah, and you know what I'm talking about. That was a nice dedication. And obviously, you know, there had to be a dedication of Nichelle Nichols, and well, around the time with the opening to season 2 of Strange New Worlds. That was great. Yeah, and to name some of the other characters quickly, because, yeah, Chief J, Noah Lamana, if I even said her name right, Kurdog, yeah, one of the Klingons, obviously, Kyle Cass, the USS Enterprise computer, Alex Kapp, Captain Dukok, if I said that right, played by Andrew Jackson, and, yeah, obviously the name sounds very similar to, you know, the U.S. president, but yeah, what a coincidence. Inspector Jillian, I think, yeah, I said that right. Samar Salam and Jen, Hannah Spear. Oh, yeah. And, yeah. And, okay, so, and there's Greynax, Alex Spencer, and Klingon extremist, Nicholas Van Burek, and, Yori Yorick, if I said that right, Abbas Wahab, and Commodore Tafoon, being played by Russell Ewan, and a thug, who's uncredited, being played by John Marsh. So, just wanted to name some of the other cast members that were in this episode, as I like to do sometimes. But yeah. Yeah, episode 1. The first episode, and to start off season 2 of Strange New Worlds, The Broken Circle. A great way to start off the second season, with what the first episode had to offer with its storyline, Spock in command, the situation they find themselves in when they make their way to the Klingon mining planet, ex-Starfleet and Klingon soldiers attempting to restart the recently end war between the Federation and the Klingons, and in the end, they managed to save the day, and, you know, with what goes on with each the Doctor and Chapel, they nearly died, but they, you know, they managed to be rescued. Spock's emotions and his love and care for Chapel, and a little tease of, you know, with what's going on with Pike, his number 1, Una Chin Riley, and, yeah, we got a little snippet of it, and with what Pike's doing, and yet, that would be saved for the next episode that I am now going to be reviewing. But yeah, just overall, episode 1 of season 2 of Strange New Worlds, The Broken Circle, that was a good episode, a great way to start off the second season of Strange New Worlds. Okay, so now we come to episode 2, and this one, as I said earlier, this one, a lot of people, and I would agree, yeah. And as I recall, like, each of my parents, they think so too, obviously, where this episode of Strange New Worlds, a lot of people considering the best episode of Star Trek, you know, we hadn't had in a long time. And if you know, you know, just, yeah, with what I'm specifically saying. But yeah, okay, so, episode 2, which being titled, Ad Astra Per Aspera. I think I did pronounce that right. Okay, description / the story. Commander Una faces court-martial, along with possible imprisonment and dishonorable Dismel from Starfleet, yeah. And her defense is in the hands of a lawyer who's also a childhood friend with whom she had a terrible falling out. Okay, so, episode 2. Man, because, yeah, I mean, this was pretty good. And like I said, we're a lot of people, I would agree, that this was the best episode of Star Trek in quite a long time. Yeah. But, well, because this is where we finally see, you know, Una being court-martialed and stuff like that, and because, you know, keep in mind the fact that she is an Illyrian, and the fact that, you know, with why she got arrested, you know, because, you know, because she's an Illyrian whose genetic heritage, you know, it's banned by the Federation, you know, banned on genetic augmentation, yeah. So, as we saw in the last episode of Season 1, and we'd have to wait a whole nother season to see what happens, the fate of Una, but I think it's obvious that even before then, we knew that at some point, she would be, you know, declared not guilty and all charges would be dropped and such, yeah. So, like what we saw at the start of episode 1 with what Pike was doing, well, because Pike, we see him having arrived at the Voltara Nebula, and yeah, it's a dangerous environment because we see Pike having to wear a mask and to provide oxygen for him and such because, yeah, he can't breathe the environment and such, the planet's atmosphere and such, where he's at. So, yeah, Pike in search for a lawyer, you know, and to secure legal representation for Una. Well, he, comes face-to-face with a childhood friend, and as I read in the description / the story of this episode, of Una's, which being, Nira. Yeah, Nira, that is how her name is pronounced. Nira Katol, I think, yeah, I said that right, being played by Yetide Badaki, if I even got her full name right, but again, you know me sometimes. So, yeah, Nira, pretty interesting character and her personality, you know, and the chemistry she has at times with Una, and because of what's going on in this episode, just, yeah. So Nira, whom is also an Illyrian, is a civil rights lawyer, and Pike, you know, asks her to help with, you know, his number one's case, number one, of course, being Una, and, yeah, being Una's legal counsel during her court-martial, yeah. And, again, because Nira, being an old friend of Una's, but at the same time, they have a complicated history, and due to Starfleet's anti-genetic engineering laws, and how she feels against Starfleet's laws, and of course, that especially goes for the anti-genetic engineering. But, yeah. Also, at times in this episode, we would get flashbacks of Una's childhood. Yeah. And, because, you know, just seeing her as a child and the fact that her parents wanting to keep her safe and sound, you know, not have whom she is, an Illyrian, be revealed and such to the public, to the Federation, because if so, their lives would be ruined. Be flat out arrested, just, yeah. And young Una, being played by young Anna Claire Battelle, I think I said that right. She also plays a young girl who appears somewhere in the episode. And Una's parents, Una's father being played by Jim Annan, and Una's mother, Catherine Black. Yeah, so that's really cool because we get to see flashbacks of Una, and what we learn more about her and as an Illyrian, so, yeah. So Nira, yep, being placed into speaking on behalf and helping out Una and such. And yeah, just the interactions between Una and Nira, you know, they're great, but, you know, at the same time, you know, them kind of, you know, bonking heads and such, well, because of on account of what all's happening. And, Yeah, and also the fact that Captain Battelle, whom, of course, appears in this episode and heavily involved in Una's trial, and Captain Battelle, once again, being played by Melanie Scrofano. Yeah, I think I said her name right. A.K.A. Winona Earp. Yeah. And by the way, because Captain Battelle being the girlfriend of Captain Pike. So, yeah. And, yeah, because with what's going on and the situation between Pike and Battelle, well, because Battelle makes it very clear at times to Pike that she doesn't want Pike thinking that she has betrayed him and so on, and with the situation of Una, because she wants to help out in the situation, but yet, with what goes down, it just, not easy. Yeah, best way to put it. And yeah, because, you know, with the trial itself, because, let's go ahead and mention that, because, yeah, with the trial beginning, and you have Una there, you have Neera, Battelle, as well as, you know, the higher-ups at Starfleet. We have, we have Admiral Javis, being played by Nikki Guandagani, if I said her name right, and Vice Admiral Pazalk, being played by Greem Somerville, if I said it right, and also, like, there's Jag Defender, being played by Ian Stewart, and Talaret Judge, played by David Benjamin Tomlinson, yeah. And there's a Vulcan judge whom we did see early on interact with Spock, and yeah, this Vulcan judge and Spock, they're definitely not on good terms. Even when, like, say, yeah, because Dr. Benga and Erica, they were witnessing and observing over at a table, like, yeah, the interactions between the Vulcan judge and Spock, and Erica trying to, you know, mimic and, like, you know, trying to figure out what exactly they're saying. That was pretty funny of Erica. But, yeah, just, you know, the way, because again, you know, Spock and that Vulcan judge, they're not on good terms, but yet, it seemed as though over at their table, it went pretty well. They weren't, like, strangling one another, but yeah. And by the way, because yeah, the Vulcan judge, being played by Eugene Clark, and yeah, the Vulcan judge, is another one of those Vulcans that's an asshole, pretty much, you know, where we've sometimes gotten those Vulcans in the world of Star Trek where they're not as they seem, and what we expect from Vulcans, right? Because, yeah, being horrible Vulcans, and this Vulcan, yeah, is one of them. And with what the Vulcan judge does at a certain point in the episode. Oh, jeez. Pulling a move, just, ugh. Jeez. But, yeah, so, again, with the trial itself, because, yeah, Una's trial, you know, becoming a platform to address the border issue of prejudice against Illyrians, and her lawyer, Neera, using Starfleet regulations and historical examples to argue for her client's right to be judged on her merits and on her genetic background. And geez, with what Neera does, and even when, you know, because say Admiral Robert April is there, and, well, the fact because, you know, he was captain of the Enterprise and had served alongside with Una, as her being number one, and just, like, you know, Neera turning the wheels on April as if this court is on him, and just, I mean, I guess we get where she's going with this, but still, just, yeah, it's crazy. Even when, you know, Battelle just aggressively, you know, and directly at Neera, you know, objection and so on. And I also, you know, it's awesome where on the Enterprise we see Pike and the crew observing and watching this court happen live. Just, that's great. Also, yeah, Pike's support, and because Captain Pike, he's deeply affected, obviously, by Una's trial, and very actively seeks legal representation for her. So, yeah, you know, he even risking his own well-being to do so, and he also grapples with the implications of Starfleet's policies on genetic augmentation. Yeah. And also, Lieutenant Noonien Singh, she's trying to investigate, with what's going on with her in this episode, she's trying to investigate whom is responsible for causing Una to be discovered and exposed, and which would lead her to be arrested, because it could be in any personal log of any crew member of the Enterprise. And even when she tries to speak to Uhura about this, well, that's going to be very risky, according to Uhura, to Lon Noonien Singh. But, Lon just being very determined to investigate and to help her mentor / friend, Una. Even when Neera, moments where where each of them have, and because, Neera being well aware of what Lieutenant Noonien Singh is doing. And also the Batol's role. I think I said that right, yeah. Because, Batel and Pike's romantic interest, because, like I said, because takes on the role of prosecutor in the trial and highlighting the complexities of personal relationship. And it's not easy, it's not easy, and, with sometimes for Pike and Batel. I mean, here's the thing, because, even before this happened, with them being in a relationship, still, they had to do their duties, serving on starships and being away for quite a while, but for this, because, it's a good thing that even towards the end of the episode, they didn't, this didn't cause, with what all was happening, did not cause both Batel and Pike to end their romance, their relationship. That was a good thing, because I don't know about you guys, I really like the relationship towards, between Pike and Batel. Yeah, it's pretty good, but I'm just saying. And shout out to my mom, because even my mom, she, I don't think she hadn't been really enjoying the character of Batel, but I shared with her what I said, because I don't think she's a bad character. I'm sure the same would go for you. And what's her face? She's a fantastic actress, and she's really good in the world of Star Trek, but just overall, I really like the romance between, Pike and Batel. Yeah. But, and also, and the key arguments, because, Neera challenges the notion that all genetic modification is inherently dangerous, and drawing parallels to historical injustices, and arguing that judging individuals, and based on their genetic makeup, is a form of bigotry, if I said that right, the intenseful stuff that happens in court. But also, not to mention that there is a moment, not only did we get, Admiral Robert April involved in this, but, the other crew members of the Enterprise, from Spock, Lieutenant Noonien Singh, Chapel, the Doctor, they find themselves involved, being questioned about Una and how they feel towards Una. And pretty much, for all of them, very positive. Even for Spock, because the mentioning of, music and such, you know what I'm talking about. That was great. That was great right there. Even, from Una, Pike, and the others who are watching this, they smile, because, But, Okay, and to speed things up some, because, can't forget to mention this, where Lieutenant Noonien Singh feeling that she probably could be responsible, and where she did say something in a personal log of her own, something negative towards Una. But thankfully, that actually is not really the case. She's not responsible, and it's not really dealt with that much, and with what else happens later on in this episode. But still, speed things up some, because, with the court still going on, and with the trial of Una, because, there's one moment where Neera, determined to get to the bottom of this, whom is responsible for you know, placing Una where she is and such, and just getting quite out of hand, and with what Neera's doing. But Una comes out clean and basically confirms that she turned herself in, because being so tired of living with these lies and so on that's been in her and being kept from Starfleet and so on. Just, yeah. And Una's testimony, because Una giving this heartfelt testimony where she reveals her deep seated belief in Starfleet's potential to be a force for good. Yeah, because that's what she felt, and when she was a little girl, and, you know, despite its flaws. Yeah, obviously, because, you know, knowing Starfleet and Star Trek, they have so many flaws, and you know what? Even establishing where, you know, Starfleet being good, but it's not perfect. Yeah, and it's true, because none of everything and such, you know, is perfect, even in the world of Star Trek. Yeah, and that goes for Starfleet especially. So yeah, again, despite its flaws, and, well, her emphasizing that Starfleet's diverse crew was what, you know, intentionally, whatever, I'm having trouble pronouncing that word, but you know what I'm talking about, drew her to join Starfleet. And her hoping her presence could help foster greater understanding of Illyrians. I mean, that's what she hoped, and, well, I mean, didn't go as what she hoped for, and, you know, what she expected. And after that, you know, amazing testimony she gave, and seeing the characters' reactions to that, well, that Vulcan judge that I brought up earlier, where, yeah, I gave the heads up that the Vulcan judge was someone that, yeah, was gonna pull a move, and he does, where he basically questions Una about Captain Pike. How long he knew, when he knew, and if he knew before this happened, her being brought in and such, you know, court-martial and such. You know, if Pike knew that she had been an Illyrian, and by Pike not mentioning this to Starfleet, having kept it to himself, and, well, you know, even when Neera tries to object to this, well, Una does confirm that Pike did know 4 months ago. And, yeah, because the Vulcan judge was wanting this to just drag and to just end poorly and so on for Una. He was enjoying this. You could tell and sense it. Jeez. Like I said, some Vulcan characters in Star Trek, not all of them are good and caring Vulcans, you know what I mean? But just, yeah. And, well, you know, what would happen next? And what would eventually clear Una's name? Well, primarily due to her own powerful testimony and the legal arguments, you know, presented by her lawyer. And, you know, with having her turned herself in, and not out of shame for being Illyrian, but because she was tired of living a lie and believing in Starfleet's ideals, yeah, and diversity, and in conclusion. And, well, even when Batel, reading from a book and such, and, yeah, because the court's decision, the court ultimately absolved Una, not being, changing Starfleet's policy, not on genetic engineering, but by recognizing the legal loophole of asylum. Yep, and this allowed Una to remain in Starfleet, while still upholding the existing regulations. Yeah, and again, thanks to Patel, who reads off from a book, and even some words that, did come from what Batel was reading and such. You know, just, yeah. But it's great to see that in the end, Batel's name is cleared and, yep, going back on duty in Starfleet, and once again serving as Pike's #1 on the USS Enterprise. Yep. And being wholeheartedly welcomed back on the Enterprise, the crew are there, even Nira. And, Nira and Una, after all they went through, they seem to be on good terms now. And, their friendship, reconnecting and such, but yet, Nira, how she still feels towards Starfleet, but very mixed by this point, Even they even applaud her, and right as she, boarded the transport, yeah. But after all that, and Pike, wholeheartedly hugging her, it's good to have Una back serving on the Enterprise. Everything's all patched up. That's great to see. And as we expected, and, despite all that happened, all the struggles and moments where, oh my gosh, this is going to end poorly. But no, thankfully, it doesn't. And as we've seen before in Star Trek, when stuff like this happens, never fails. Yep. And when it comes to, with all of it ending on a positive note, it's all patched up and such. You get my point. Yeah. But yeah, man, episode 2. Yeah, quite complicated. Ad Astra Per Aspera. Not to mention there was a moment where Una did say the title of the episode. Yeah. But yeah, just overall, episode 2, it was, without a doubt, an excellent episode. And, this being the second episode of Season 2, off to a great start. With what episode 2 had to offer, with its storyline, where we see Una on trial, and with Nira stepping in, and things getting very complicated and not looking too good. But yet, in the end, it all turned out fine. Everything was all patched up. Una being cleared from her name, going back on duty and such, that was great. And moments with each of the characters, from Nira, Lieutenant Noonien Singh, that Vulcan judge, screw him. And with Admiral Robert April, and with Spock, Pike, and the relationship that's at stake with Pike and Batel. But, it doesn't end poor, it doesn't end badly, as I explained. Just overall, episode 2, Ad Astra Per Aspera. Yeah. It was a really good episode, and like many people say, this episode, that was a fantastic episode of Star Trek we hadn't seen in quite a while. Yeah, and I would agree. But again, episode 2, fantastic. And with that being said, the first episodes of Season 2 of Strange New Worlds, off to a great start with this season. They did not disappoint with what each of them had to offer with their storylines. The Broken Circle and Ad Astra Per Aspera. Fantastic, yeah. And great to see that, most notably, it did not take too long for us to have seen Una, be put on trial, and in the end, her name being cleared. It's, because point being is that it's great to see that didn't drag until, towards near the end of this season? You get what I'm saying? Yeah, that's a good thing, because that would have probably been just like, oh my gosh, no, why? Why is it at the... Yeah. But good thing it was, at the second episode of the season. But again, overall, the first 2 episodes of Season 2 of Strange New Worlds, they were really good. And what about you guys? What did you think of the first 2 episodes of Season 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds? Which of the first 2 episodes were your favorites? I'm pretty sure for a lot of you, you would probably cite episode 2, right? But, obviously those of you had also enjoyed episode 1, The Broken Circle. What were some of your favorite moments to come from those first two episodes? And, the fact that when season 1 ended, we had to wait a whole nother season to see what would happen to Una. But, thankfully, in episode 2, look what happened. It all turned out great for Una and being back on board the Enterprise. Yep. And did you get some good laughs? Did you get teary-eyed and such? That's what Star Trek's always good at that. And yeah, definitely with what Strange New Worlds has had to offer with tear-jerking moments. And, and when it came to episode 2, were you happy to see that Una's name was cleared and such? And moments where, you couldn't stand the Vulcan judge. And with what was going on in episode 1, the intensity, the climax, and when, the Enterprise crew trying to prevent from, the Starfleet/Federation Klingon War happening again and so on? Did you like the dedication to Nichelle Nichols? Just overall, what did you think of the first 2 episodes of Star Trek Strange New Worlds? Episode 1, The Broken Circle, and Episode 2, Ad Astra Per Aspera. Yep. What did you think of the 2 episodes themselves, with what I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review, my Part 1 review of Season 2 of Strange New Worlds? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, guys, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review, my Part 1 review of Season 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Episodes 1 and 2, The Broken Circle, Ad Astra Per Aspera. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I will see you guys in the next video / review. And, well, Part 2 will be on its way. Yep. Stay tuned for my Part 2 review of Season 2 of Strange New Worlds, Episodes 3, 4, and 5. Take care, peace out, and live long and prosper.